Good?
I call this August 24th, 2020 meeting of the Newberry County School Board meeting to order. We have a quorum present with all members present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, members of the board, if you will, on the operations report, which is item D under staff report, add a number 3 to include a cleaning update. Operations, number 3, cleaning update. And that's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hill, if you would lead us in an invocation, please.
May we bow our heads, please. Our Father in heaven, we come to you with humble hearts, asking you for your continuing blessing as we attempt to open our schools in our district, and not only in our district, but across the country. Not knowing how this fight will be with this epidemic that we are in, we're not sure positive about anything other than trying to ask for you and for your blessings. Father in heaven, it's not only our school districts, this school district, or other school districts, which we have the responsibility that we have, and the reason why we are here because of children. Go by the hospitals, nursing homes, those who are incarcerated, and put your arms around those persons. Our administration, staff, teachers, and above all, let's keep all of our children safe from the virus as much as we possibly can. Bless this school board and the others who are responsible for these children that we are responsible for. Help them and help us again for the guidance that you would give us. These are the blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to take this time to welcome everyone, and I'd like to especially welcome all those that we can't see, those that are watching online, and after this first day of school, I would like to especially welcome all of our teachers out there that may be watching this evening, or any of our staff and parents. As we all know, we've never been down this sort of a first day of school before, and I was able to visit 2 schools this morning, and I guess the teacher in me would really like to give a very special welcome to our teachers. They've been learning a lot, still learning a lot, as all our staff folks in the offices were working so very hard. So just welcome to everybody that's out there watching this evening. All right, and then we'd like to recognize our media, who I believe is also watching us virtually as well. All right, and I believe we have a special recognition this evening.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Suber, tonight we are honored to recognize the district's Department of Finance. The Association of School Business Officials International and the Government Finance Officers Association are recognizing the Department of Finance with certificates of excellence in financial reporting for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019. These certificates of achievement are the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. We have placed 2 certificates at Ms. Dowd's place to display in the Office of Finance. Congratulations, Ms. Dowd, and thank you and your staff for your hard work.
Without objection, the minutes of the June 27th, 2020 board meeting will be approved. Okay, all right, and now we move to our action items, and Ms. Dowd is up first with finance.
Thank you, Chairman Metz and members of the board, and Mr. Suber. You should have a copy of our bond resolution for 2020. It is to provide for the issuance and sale not exceeding $8,560,000 of general obligation bonds of the School District of Newberry County, South Carolina, in one or more series to prescribe the purposes for which the proceeds of such obligations shall be expended and to provide for the payment thereof and other matters relating thereto. It's a lot of information, as usual. This is prepared by our bond attorney, Theodore DeBose. I will bring your attention to Exhibit A. It's on page A1. Page A1, we always include a list of possible district expenditures for improvements to the district, and we do have a list of 10 in Exhibit A. Just bringing your attention to this particular information. And we will have our first bond sale for the year, as we usually do, in October. And I'll try to answer any questions you have about this at this time. This is an action item, and as usual, we do bring this in August of every year.
My only question is ignorance, but can you tell me what the acronym QSEP means as QSEP number?
I have known that, but it is an acronym, and I cannot remember exactly what it means. But it's the different bonds that they go out and whenever they take this out for bid.
It's the numbers of all the referendum bonds put together.
No, it has to do with the. What page are you looking at?
A1. It says E13. It's Exhibit A.
Okay.
It's a blank page. That's why I was just interested. I don't remember.
It's because once they go out for bid,
Okay.
they use this particular page to actually complete that once we go out for bid in October.
Okay.
Those numbers come from when we actually do that.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right, and our next action is Ms. Ware with some first reading.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Suber, tonight I bring you 2 policies for first reading. In May, the U.S. Department of Education published its final rule under Title IX after an extensive rulemaking process. The effective date of this rule was August 14th. The 2 policies that I bring to you for first reading are policies GBAA and JIAA, sexual harassment and retaliation. One policy gives directives to staff, the other is for students. Both of these policies are model policies from the South Carolina School Boards Association, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about either of these.
I didn't really have a question, but on the JIAA for students,
Yes, ma'am?
is this information like in our student handbook, especially our high schools, communicated to them?
It will be because it's not in policy yet. we will have to do some updates and send out some information to our students and staff.
The reason I said that was they just, I think, many times need to be reminded when it said this applies to behavior communicated electronically,
Yes, ma'am.
that I hate to see some of them get themselves
In trouble.
in trouble. And I just thought we certainly need to
Yes, ma'am,
communicate that
absolutely. Once
part
these
to
are
them.
approved, we will definitely get those out for distribution to our students and our staff.
She said high school, but I'm assuming it'd be in middle school.
It would be for everyone, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And this is a first reading of this policy.
Make a motion, we accept those as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and our next item is concerning the delegate assembly this December. And we have received some information, and just like the law conference last week was done differently, this conference will be the same way. The conference will actually be a one-half-day virtual event on Thursday, December the 3rd. But they're planning to have the annual business meeting on Friday, December the 4th at 11 a.m. at the Convention Center in Columbia. And at the moment, they're planning to hopefully have that as an in-person event. And because of social distancing, normally we've had 2 delegates, but this year, every district only is going to have 1. So tonight, we need to select that 1 delegate and 1 alternate that could be there on December the 4th at 11:30 a.m. And if by then they decide that they're not going to be able to host an in-person meeting because of health concerns, it will become actually a virtual meeting.
Madam Chair, I nominate you if you can attend that at that time to represent us.
I'd like to close on said person.
Sir?
I would like to close the nomination.
Can you go?
Yes, I can
December
go.
4th or Friday, I think.
Okay, but we have to have a delegate, so we need not a delegate, an alternate. We certainly have to have an alternate. All right, anybody that would like to?
Ms. Reader?
I'll
could
be
you-
an alternate.
I would nominate
All
Ms.
right.
Reader to be the alternate then, and part of that motion.
All right, so, Mr. Bledsoe, would you like to just make that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we elect you to be our delegate for the 2020 Delegate Assembly, and Ms. Reader to please be on standby as our alternate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and now we have our first staff report with Ms. Dowd, again, for finance.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Suber, you should have a copy of our cash flow report in your board packets. The prior month's balance is $24.3 million. Deposits for the month of July, $3.7 million, and claims of $6.4 million for an ending balance July of 2020 of $21.6 million. On the next page, this is broken down by fund. General fund, $12.6 million. Federal projects, $4.4 million. EIA funds, $4.1 million. And other state restricted funds of $769,000. Again, an ending balance July of 2020 of $21.7 million. On the next page, we have the cash flow for technology and construction funds. We did have expenditures for the month of July of $9,011, and those were for the purchase of safety pads for the front part of the stages at Gallman Elementary, Pomeria Garmany Elementary, and Boundary Elementary. And that brought our ending balance for July of 2020 to $730,575. And the following pages are there for your information, and I'll try to answer any questions at this time.
I'm assuming those safety pads have already been installed?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Dowd, are you to the point of closing out last fiscal year yet?
We are certainly in the process of that. We have not completely, we still had some accruals actually for this month.
Still up?
And,
Somewhat.
somewhat. Mhm. Yes, sir. Okay. Would you like for me to move on to our procurement audit? Okay. You have in your board packets a copy of the procurement agreed upon procedures report. And the way our procurement audit works is there's a listing of procedures, about 20 or 21 of those. And they indicate if there were any findings noted on these procedures for procurement. And if you had a chance to review that, you will note that we had no findings, which was an unqualified opinion, a great opinion, the best opinion we can get for our procurement audit. I think Mr. Brian Gresham is in the audience, and I've already let him know how much I appreciate what he does. But anyway, he does a wonderful job with this, and I'm just really, really thankful and appreciative of this good report.
Yes, I kept flipping through it, and it was like, no finding, no finding.
Yeah, they do the procurement audit quite differently from our regular annual fiscal year-end audit. But at any rate, I liked it. It was good.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
I'd like to thank Mr. Gresham and the team that works with him. I know he's not a one-man team, so thank you for what you do.
agreed. All right. The next thing on the agenda for finance is just a quick update on the COVID-19 CARES Act expenditures. As you know, that we were approved for $1,720,467, and we budgeted that in 4 different categories. And I just wanted to give you a quick update. Category 3 was provisions for principals and other school leaders. The majority of these funds have been expended on masks, from anywhere to disposable mask, cotton mask for teachers and students, athletic mask, face shields. We did have some N95 masks for those that are going to have some closer exposure, medical mask, nurse gowns, gloves. Those types of things were out of this particular category. The other things that were out of this category that we've purchased are signage, protective barriers, and that's also where I think I mentioned when we first talked about this funding is that we did request payment for the graduation things that we had to do for stage rental and videos. So thus far, we have actually expended $133,000. We still have $22,500 that we have either outstanding or ready to spend as needed for these types of things. As you know, we're not quite sure how many disposable masks will be used right away if kids come in and don't have one. We have them for the buses and all of that. So when they need them, they know that they're there to get if they are needed. And all of our schools know that if they are at any point in time running low on any kind of supplies, that they're to let us know, and we do have a little bit in the hole there to continue ordering if we need to. The next category is
133. Have you gotten reimbursed for that?
we have not gotten reimbursed. We are planning to file a claim at the end of this quarter.
So we have not filed a claim for reimbursement?
We have not filed a claim. We do that quarterly, and that'll be in September when we'll do that. In addition, we had expenditures for Category 7, which is sanitation services and supplies. This is where we are purchasing our hand sanitizer, our surface sanitizer, which would be our disinfecting wipes and chemicals, sanitizing machines that we are using, the electrostatic sprayers, and we've also got some touchless hand sanitizer equipment in the schools that we've got in there, and So far, we have spent right at $130,000 there and have either outstanding that hasn't come in or available to use in that category of $72,800. So we are steadily ordering that kind of thing and have actually distributed it at the schools with their PPE, with the mask and the sanitizer. They got all of that before school started to distribute to the teachers and have available if needed. Okay, next is our Category 9, the purchase of educational technology. We have purchased iPads in the amount of $337,264. We have ordered and expect to receive soon our iPad cases. That's $50,500. Our laptop cases, $9,446. And carts for the schools to house these devices when they're actually not having to be at home with the students of $70,602. Laptops are also, additional laptops are on order for $101,447. So we've got quite a large expenditure for devices, and they're either already in our hands or they've already been distributed, or some that we still need are still on the way.
What was the figure for the laptop cases?
$90,446.
So that was originally about $582,000.
It is.
And
Mm-hmm.
now what?
It has gone over. It's now at $650,000, but we did have some funds available in another category, which would have been Category 12, that we're able to cover those. And when we do, we can do an amendment at that time.
What's the life expectancy of these devices?
The warranties, and I'm assuming around 3 years or so. Is that
3 to 4 years.
Mhm. Okay, final category is Category 12, and that's just a other activities category. That's where we budgeted for an additional nurse for our Career Center, which we have now, thankfully, been able to hire in place. Yes, I think Nurse Tricia is excited. Yes. 4 years? Okay. We have an update. There's 4 years on the devices.
Okay.
Additional salary and fringe in that category is for bus aides. And we really aren't sure at this point in time. That's kind of a moving target as to if we're going to need or how many we're going to need for bus aides. So I think there's a good potential that we will have funding left over in that particular line item that we'll be able to use for other areas as we continue to need potentially PPE and other things in our schools. I think that's a possibility. We're just now, first day of school, figuring out, how many students are on buses, and if aides are how many aides would we possibly need. So as the time goes and we have a little bit more of an idea with that, we'll know what we need to do for that area.
Have we hired some?
I think we put out we haven't, but we put out the advertisement. I couldn't think of the word right now. The advertisement to do so, and we've started getting in applications. The other area that's in that category are the funds that we had to budget for our private schools. We budgeted $63,028, and that's for Newberry Academy and for Cornerstone Christian School. And Cornerstone's a smaller school, but they did request to be a part of that, and so we did allocate a small amount of funds for them. Total expenditures, amount expended plus either encumbered or outstanding, is $1,629,675. That leaves a balance unspent or not encumbered for anything at this point in time of $90,792. As I said, though, we have some
What was that balance again?
$90,792. I do feel like that there's potential in the salary and fringe category of bucket 12 that we're going to have some expenditure, some actual line item, but that line item might not have all of the expenditures as budgeted. Any questions?
I've got one. That first year your department's gotten that award?
No, sir.
How many years have we gotten that award?
I didn't even remember to look, but it's like,
I want to say 16.
It's-
Does that sound right?
I think it's more than that.
Well, we
Yeah.
just didn't do that.
I lose
justice
count, and
tonight.
that's bad. That's really bad. I'm getting old, and I've been here a long time, and
We didn't get to do that due justice. I want to say that I appreciate all the work y'all do.
thank you.
Small staff. I'm an accounting person. I know what it takes. So thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome. Thank you very much. Okay,
That's
thank
all
you.
of our,
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir?
all of our kids have access to the laptop.
Yes, sir, they either have access to an iPad if they're at the lower elementary level, or a laptop. I believe that starts in grades 3 on up through grade 12. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now our staff report, Ms. Ware, or Dr. Ware, excuse me.
Good evening again. Tonight I'm bringing multiple administrative rules for your information. The first group of administrative rules addresses issues as it relates to COVID-19. Temporary Administrative Rule EEAR addresses student transportation, including drop-off and pickup procedures for parents, student drivers, and bus transportation. The rule states that students and staff members will wear a face covering while on the bus and will be spaced apart as practicable. This rule also addresses the bus drivers cleaning the bus after each route. Temporary Administrative Rule EBR addresses ways to reduce the spread of COVID-19 and the methods by which the district will take reasonable steps to follow the recommended protocols established by health officials. Temporary Administrative Rule KIR states that non-essential visitors will not be allowed access to school buildings before, during, or after the school day. It also states our screening process for anyone attempting to enter the building and suspends the use of district facilities. This policy is accompanied by a notice that will be displayed on the entrances of our schools. And the final administrative policy that we have that addresses COVID-19 is Temporary Administrative Rule JER, and it addresses student attendance. This rule gives guidance for virtual attendance and attendance for a hybrid schedule. Virtual attendance will be determined based on assignment returns and participation in virtual learning activities. Hybrid attendance will be taken on the days the students are physically in school, and virtual attendance will be determined by students adhering to classroom assignment deadlines. And it also addresses excessive absences. Do y'all have any questions about the COVID-19 ones? I know it's a lot. It's like, what, 9 different rules this time?
It looks like you're suggesting to a new normal.
It is the new norm, yes, sir. The last 2 are policy that they go along with the first reading of policies GBAA and JIAA. The administrative rules outline the definitions of sexual harassment, retaliation, the procedures for reporting and filing complaints, and the complaint forms are also attached. Can I answer any questions about any of our administrative rules that we are presenting tonight?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you go over the one, well, you had one about bus drivers cleaning after
Yes.
each route?
Yes, sir.
What happens if a bus driver tests positive for COVID? Do we have what procedure do we have in place for that?
Well, we do clean the bus after each route, and that's addressed in this policy, but we'd also have the maintaining healthy environments also gives some information for a confirmed COVID-19 case. And while I don't think it specifically addresses buses, I think that we could definitely use some of that guidance as we do disinfect and clean our buses.
They would be treated like any other staff person if they get.
Correct, they would be.
So along that line, I heard this week, but I have not read anything that teachers have been declared essential personnel. Have you seen any of that?
Yes, sir, we have.
Which has to change some of our policies about what happens if the teacher is exposed.
It could. Right now, we have the policies in place, and I think it gives some leeway for close contacts, which right now we are sticking to what we have in place in our toolkits for that Ms. Ulch has worked so hard on.
Mr. Bledsoe, that, I think that started out being intended for teachers, but it is basically essential personnel, and the conference call with the State Department last week and with DHEC, it's anybody that is essential to the operation of the school. They went as far as, say, teachers, administrative assistants, cafeteria workers, if you can't feed, et cetera, janitorial staff, the whole 9 yards. So,
I understood that.
but again, we're trying not to have to use that terminology because certainly we don't want to have to bring somebody in that may pose a risk to our students or our staff. That would be a last case scenario for us in Newberry County.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now Dr. Carey.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Suber. My first item tonight is to just give you an update on Newberry 1. As you know, we had our first day of school today, and Newberry 1 was included in that. We have right now, and of course this is fluid, as is any type of enrollment figure, but our total Newberry 1 students right now are 1,859. Total hybrid students, 4,044. Which gives us a total enrollment today of 5,903 students, which is on par with the typical school year for us. Breakdown by level for Newberry 1, right now we have 969 elementary students and 40 teachers, 412 middle level teachers, grades 6 through 8, or 412, I wish we had 412 middle level teachers, 412 middle level students, grades 6 through 8, and 18 teachers, and 478 high school students and 22 high school teachers. A couple of things I'd like to point out about Newberry 1. I would just like to remind you that we have built an extremely large school in 6 weeks, actually less than 6 weeks. If you take into consideration that parents had until August 10th to finalize their decision with the schools, we had less than 2 weeks to build Newberry 1 master schedules as well as individual student schedules for each level, giving our schools, our brick and mortar schools, the same short timeline to rebuild their master schedules and have schedules ready for students this morning. This is usually at least a year-long process, oftentimes longer, to open a new school, much less a school of 2,000 students. Our team of principals, teachers, and district-level staff has pulled together to accomplish a monumental, unprecedented task. It's really quite extraordinary if you think about it. And our school district and staff members and school staff should be commended for all of their efforts. There have definitely been some bumps along the way, including today. That's no different from any other school start, and we're addressing them as they come up. And our folks at the school levels and at the district level are pulling together to do that. We want to make clear that no one in Newberry 1 has missed any important content today because we had already planned to focus on procedures and relationship building with all students this week in Newberry 1, and quite frankly in our hybrid classes as well, because they're just coming twice this week. We aren't focusing on content until next week because we know we have issues to iron out and we don't want students to miss any important material. Our technology department has also created a help desk for families at virtual help desk at newberry.k12.sc.us. And I just want to commend Ms. Hamilton and her staff of teachers, as well as our principals. There are several here today who are really doing the hard work back at the buildings. Once we create a master schedule and pull teachers for Newberry 1 with their help, they have to go back and rebuild that on their campus with lots fewer options, because whenever you take teachers from a building, you have fewer left to do the work of the students who are there. So it really is a tribute to the name of Newberry 1, which is one district, one team, one mission. So we're pulling together. Not perfect, but we will get there. We will get there. What questions do you have at this time?
What was that help desk? Oh, excuse me, Ms. Hammond. The help desk, I was trying to write.
Oh, yes.
I went too fast.
Help desk, virtual help desk, just one word, at newberry.k12.sc.us. And there's also a one-page help flyer that Bucky Ware, our digital technology integration specialist, put together that is on our district Facebook page and the web page to help with login information, which has been our primary issue today that has created, a little bit of a rocky start.
What about adult education? What, having any problems with that, or how it would matriculate?
Right now, Ms. Keinert is doing a wonderful job, and they are trucking along. They usually start after Labor Day, so she's doing her enrollment at this time and getting ready. But we plan to continue with them. They actually will have access to devices like our K-12 students will as well as Schoology.
Okay.
Of the 80 teachers that you noticed, how many of them were previous district employees that have moved on to virtual system?
For the most part, all of them. There may be a few, Mr. Bledsoe, who are new hires to our district, not new for Newberry 1, but they were new, just coming in under normal circumstances, if you will, who volunteered to do that.
So we have not actually hired anybody just for this?
No, we haven't. And I want to point out, this would have been a lot easier process if we could have contracted with an outside, you see where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yeah.
With an outside agency to do, like some districts have. We just didn't feel like, that it was a good thing to ask the board to go into the fund balance and spend $1 million, because that's roughly what it would cost for this many kids. And B, we still don't think, even at that cost, that that's the best for our kids. We feel like our teachers, who, yes, they're still learning, yes, they have a lot of professional development left to get, yes, they're nervous, but they're doing a tremendous job, and they have the capacity and the knowledge and the content knowledge and the pedagogy to do this properly. So we're going to get through this. It's not going to be pretty at first because it's new for everybody, but we feel like our teachers are best to serve our students instead of turning them over to, somebody out there in cyberspace and writing a check for $1 million.
Do you feel that like this is fully staffed for a, 1,859?
We could use more staff, but it's a balance, because if we get more staff, then that's less that we leave at the building level. So it's definitely been a fence that we have to straddle. So we don't want to take from one and leave another. Whenever you take and create a school, you leave a lot fewer options, particularly at the high school level, for singletons and electives and AP courses and things like that. So it's very difficult to do that and do that fairly. So we actually restrict options for everybody when we do this, but we're trying to find creative ways to offer those through South Carolina Virtual, through Odyssey-ware, and some other ways of allowing the students to still come on campus and get those singleton classes if they need it.
One of the biggest questions I had, and you might address this somewhere later on, was I had no idea we were going to provide lunch for virtual learning, but we are doing that.
Yes, but it's at a cost. Unless they're from a CEP school, they will still have to pay for that lunch. If they would have paid when they came to school, brick and mortar, yes. So.
When I was asked about it, it seemed totally confusing based on the information that I had. I didn't know about it. I never thought about it. So, has that been worked out? Do we think people understand what we're doing? Some people don't have to pay, some people do. Some people can pick it up in one place, some people can't. Is that true?
Well, as far as pay, we're right back to a regular school year. That from COVID, from March the 16th on, when we had the funds, it was feed everybody, nobody had to pay, but that stopped about a month or so ago, and for this school year, it's no different than any other school year. You're either a full pay, you're reduced, or if you're a CEP school, you don't pay. That's the Community Eligibility Program. which is not new to us. We've been doing that.
I thought I understood that. So how is that going to be distributed? If they pay us or if we have to give them a free meal, how will that work virtually?
Well, it's already online. It's part of Food Nutrition. They have a portal on their website to go to.
I understand. Are they going to eat it
Folks
online?
watching can't hear us.
I'm just wondering how you, if you're sitting at home and you're not getting out of your house, how are you getting lunch?
They'll
Never called.
they'll pick up their meals once a week, and it'll be very similar to what we did in the summer. They'll do that on Wednesdays, which is the day that we don't have children in brick and mortar, so therefore it doesn't create any type of a traffic flow problem in front of our schools. So if they want it, they'll have to come pick it up.
So if you had any idea how many students out of 1859 have chosen to be a part of that?
We don't, not yet.
That's all
You got you got the final numbers? Okay.
106 for Newberry 1, 106 for Newberry High School. Can you say that on mic?
Yep. 106 for Newberry 1 and 60 for hybrid students,
Middle and high.
middle and high.
I don't know if I understand that. Is it 106 for all of Newberry 1 or just the elementary part of Newberry 1? Every 106 out of 1859. Yes, I understand that.
Not many.
Not worth getting confused by.
That's subject to change.
On the e-learning with the teachers, the numbers that you gave us, and I know right now you're still kind of situating like you
Right.
do every school year, moving to where you got to move them. So whenever we do have that settled, can you get us a list from each school of how many kids are in a virtual classroom for, each kindergarten teacher, each first grade teacher, second, all the way
sure.
up? And then were there teachers that are teaching virtually? Did we get teachers from every single school in our county?
Yes,
Okay, so everybody participated in that?
they did.
Okay. And then,
Even our smallest schools, which is a tribute to them, Whitmire and Reuben, actually
Okay.
are sharing teachers as well.
okay. And then I guess my other question too is just looking, because I know in some of the classrooms that, and again, I realize that you're still moving, so, and it's not settled yet, but some of the classrooms that have 27 or 30 or whatever virtual kids in there, because I know you were saying that you don't want to take too many out of the classroom because you may have to move them back in, but should we be able to go back 5 days a week? I mean, that virtual teacher that may have 30 kids, does that mean that all 30 kids move with that particular teacher back into that building and she has that many students? Or?
No, they stay virtual for the whole semester. And then at the end of the semester, they can apply to come back to face-to-face. And if there is space, they can. And if there is not space, they would have to remain the rest of the year.
Okay, so we're going to do virtual, I guess, so I
For
have
the-
that
for the
understanding
whole year,
for all,
yes.
Yeah.
even if kids end up back in the classroom 5 days a
Yes,
week?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha.
And Dr. Carey, I know I had asked this before, but I still keep getting lots of emails, phone calls. And I know that you want live instruction from the 8:15, I think, to 2:45, but a lot of folks are still asking, even with that live instruction, is there any way that the lesson could be recorded? So if, say, the math lesson that morning and by the afternoon, they're like, ooh, I'd like to see that again. And
Yes.
even a student on their device, I thought maybe with technology, there's a way that like, ooh, I can record that. I didn't know.
It can be recorded, and what we've asked the teachers to do, if they should choose to record, that they leave those up or accessible for 7 days, because there's a limited amount of space that we can save that type of thing. But we felt like 7 days was very reasonable as far as if my child attended Newberry 1 and was there for that 8 o'clock English class, but still had to go back, or maybe math would be a better scenario, had to go back later on in the day or in the evening when mom or dad was home to review that math lesson, they could access it that way. But it shouldn't be a replacement for physically being in the live, or, well,
Right.
virtually being in the live class.
Well, attendance is going to be based upon completion of work.
Well, for the virtual students, yes, but it's also based on them signing on and being live, yes.
So we will have record if they attend the class.
Yes, yes.
All right. Are we leaving that decision to record up to the teacher?
Right now, we've told them that that's their option to do that.
Well, for consistency's sake, why wouldn't we record them?
Well, right now, they're still learning, and this is all new to them, so I'm
Well, you see my
hesitant to
point.
it. I do see your point, but I'm hesitant to mandate that right now, especially when things are just getting off the ground, and we want them to be comfortable. We want them to be able to actually execute a lesson virtually, and that is something most of these folks have never done. So before we add another layer of, now you need to record it, and you're already nervous because you're worried you're going to mess up, because teachers are perfectionists, and they want things to be done correctly. I don't believe we should require them to record anything just yet until they're comfortable doing so.
What do you think, though, once we get past this learning curve and everybody really feeling comfortable?
Certainly, yes. I would
At
want
that
them just
point,
to be
I
comfortable.
think we should
Yes.
just tell everybody to record them.
Well, I only ask because if Sally gets sick and misses a class, or doesn't, maybe doesn't get it all that
Right.
day, and she can go back to Mr. Smith's class and say, this is what we did, and watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
But Sally, same day, sick, not feeling well, misses another class.
Right,
And if one's recorded and one's not,
right. I see your point.
how does that child make that up if it's not recorded?
Correct.
Is my point.
Correct.
If they have the willingness to make it up, I just feel like we need to have it there. And I don't have a problem with waiting until people are comfortable, but at some point, I think it needs to be there.
We can
That
definitely
way,
take a look at
everybody's
that.
playing on the same level field.
And I don't know if I'm jumping a little ahead of myself, but the Schoolology, the e-learning teachers are using it and the virtual teachers are going to be using it,
Yes.
right?
Yes, every
Okay.
teacher.
Okay, do you, I mean, at this point, because I know that everything has been so hurried and in a rush that everybody's not gotten the training that they would have liked to have gotten, and I know that you're still reaching out and trying to accomplish that, so, what kind of plan do we have to continue that training?
Well, Schoology actually owes us the training that they owe us that we were contracted to have. We haven't had yet because there are so many other districts who are ahead of us who did contracts with them back in May and June are still getting their PD. So we are on their list. So the PD that we have done has been some videos that Schoology provided, as well as what Bucky Ware, our technology integration specialist, and his group of TTLs have put together for our teachers. So the more in detail stuff that they provide, that is coming, and they have not given us a date for that yet. But believe me, we are just nipping at them. And Ms. Graham is going to do a report on PD in a minute, and she has definitely, her and Ms. Singletary, been working hard with them to make sure that they get that training for us.
Okay,
So that
are
is
we
coming.
still sending people into the schools, or still having, some extra time that for teachers that, still are feeling at a loss?
Sure, they all have a TTL. Every building has a technology teacher leader that is working with them to do to provide that Schoology training, and they've often had office hours, and again, that's a part of Ms. Graham's report. But I will say this, we had, and this wasn't Schoology training, but it was how to teach in a virtual environment. We contracted with the STEM Centers SC for that, and we had, and those sessions began back on August 3rd, and we had one session that was full at 25, and no other session was full. And they were open to teachers. Principals were pushing those dates out. Some of them were before school started, but principals were very good about switching out. If one teacher came before his or her job started, before we had PD and Leap Week, they gave them a day back. But we still did not have 100% participation. So we have offered things, and they haven't always been, quite frankly, taken advantage of.
Okay, well, I guess, too, that even with the TTLs, it's my understanding that the teachers that are there, they're teachers that actually are teaching, having their own classrooms that they have to tend to, too.
Right.
So, they're not going to be available.
Right, but they have been available the 2 weeks prior to today.
Right.
And they've had office hours and had folks coming in and working with them to learn more about Schoology. And I'll say this, And I hate to even bring up my own family, but I'm married to a PE teacher who is not very technology literate, and if he can get Schoology up and running, anybody can. And that's a testament to the TTL at Newberry High School. Little
Talking
plug.
about throw your husband under the bus.
And I'll back right up over him too, Mr. Ham, to make a point.
Was he cooking your supper tonight?
If he is, I bet it's not either.
I have one question. Going back to being the teachers being ready for the recordings,
Yes.
I do think it's important that we solidify a date. That way they have some time and they know when it's going to start, and not saying when they're comfortable, because each person is going to be comfortable at a different time.
Sure.
So we need to come together and figure out a date.
Right.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever.
Well, that's something I would like for the principal, Ms. Hamilton, and I to talk about, and then we'll let you know what that date is at the next board meeting. How about that?
I did just Google it, and you can record a live stream on your own, so there is a mechanism there to do
For
that.
parents to do that as well? Maybe
So-
we'll
so
put you on the
Google said.
payroll next.
But no, I agree with Quinn. I think that's a great idea for us to have so parents and the students as well would know,
Sure.
at least from this time on.
And that could be before the next board meeting. I mean, I know that's a conversation y'all have to have. I know
Right.
the board meeting is next month and weeks away. So
Right.
You know.
That's not something I want to make in isolation
Right,
without
right.
any input from the teachers.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, well, with that being said, I'm going to ask Ms. Paige Graham, our Director of Accountability, Assessment, and Professional Development. She has been working hard on PD, and she's going to tell you all about it.
Can somebody give us a quick update on Leap Week? Did we reach the students we wanted to, or do we know how that turned out? Did we,
Yes.
yeah, did we
Yes.
get our students back in that we wanted to get?
Yes, well, some of them opted not to come in because they were the students who chose Newberry 1, and there were some concerns about health and things of that nature. So Ms. Dowd was actually working on a report. I'm not sure she has completed it yet for the State Department as far as how many students we did have come, but we felt like we had very good participation and that it went really well for those who did come.
Thank you.
Why is that a finance thing?
Follow the money. Leap was paid extra.
It's one district, one team, one mission, and they sent this out to the finance office. And the reason that they did that is because they needed one place to have a depository for all of that information. We have had timesheets that we distributed to every school because, as you know, the Leap Week, if you weren't already contracted to work, you get paid your additional daily rate. They sent all of that information to the Office of Finance. We got it distributed. I worked closely with the Office of Instruction on that as well, and our principals, and we sent out the student information through a Power School link that Power School, our Cindy helped with that with the schools, and also there's a teacher attendance sheet that had to be just checked for every teacher that was there for each 5 days, as well as the students. So I can't really tell you a bottom line number because that's I haven't totaled it per school or anything, but I will say that I'm working very diligently to try to get that in because they don't give you a lot of turnaround time. They want all of those reports back in within 5 days of the end of Leap Week, and so at least the attendance sheets for the teachers and for the students. And then we're going to try to get the actual pay for that week actually done, as soon as possible as well. So once we have all of that implemented and all of our costs are actually in, we actually submit that to the State Department of Education, and then in turn we will get reimbursed for the salaries and fringe benefits that we've spent. But it's just you got to have one repository for all of that information, and we're all working together to get it done. Yeah.
But wasn't that originally part of the CARES Act that the State Department of Education decided to fund? The whole
They did, yes. They just, they're funding Leap Week, like I said, for those positions that were not already contracted to be in that week. In addition, we had some additional cleaning that we did, for that week, and that is supposed to be reimbursed as well. So I'm working this week on trying to get all of that together and submitted.
Yeah.
all money.
I don't know what those final numbers were, but I was in several schools last week, and the percent of students that were invited and those that were attending in the 3 or 4 schools that I was in, was pretty good. Mrs. Folk, I think. Well, yeah, he was here too. What about yours? Do you remember your number of invites and how many people attended?
345 were invited, I had about 375.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Dee Dee, do you, your number?
Yeah, we was just checking if we need to get the final numbers. We had 15 of our new grade ones who did not come in, and we only had 34 of ours who did come in. All of us did. We had very
Yeah, I think the turnout was real good. There were several elementaries that almost had 95, 96%, based on what I was told. So
I didn't see a lot of blank spaces on the sheets when they were returned, I will say that.
I get the same emails everybody does by read where some districts lost 700 students or something like that, couldn't account for them, so I was just asking for my
And I think we had a pretty good turnout.
We did. And they sent that list, Mr. Bledsoe, as far as the students that were, quote, missing or the ones that we couldn't contact. I think that went out 2 or 3 different times, but the last, our number was a little bit high when it first came out, but our last number, we worked with DSS, created a spreadsheet for them and sent it to them, and then DSS contacted the rest of those students. But we went from having, I want to say it was 108 at one time, and then we got it down to 40 some odd, and we did one more push, and our final number was 28 students that we couldn't come in contact with, and several of those students had actually left the county or the state to go to transfer somewhere else. So our numbers, we contacted virtually all of ours.
Good evening, Chairperson Metz, members of the board, and Mr. Suber. It's my pleasure to share with you just a short synopsis of the professional development that we have provided since we started this journey to prepare for the 2021 school year. I would say probably mid-July when we realized exactly what we were going to need to do. Our district math coach approached us, and she said, knowing that we have a lot of new programs coming about, let's see what we can do, because teachers want to get started doing something. Let's see what we can do to get our new math textbook training to happen earlier. And thanks to her and talking with Dr. Brooks and myself, we were able to go ahead and provide, you see on July the 28th and the 30th, math textbook training for the new math textbook adoption that took place this year. And the charts are going to all sort of look like this. I'm not going to read them to you, and some of them I may go through rather quickly. But you'll see the location of the PD, the leader of that group, the date, and then, of course, there's also a number of attendees there. So the math textbook training was well received, and we appreciate her advocating for our teachers to get that done.
What grade level was that?
That was kindergarten through... So K through 5, and our middle school teachers as well. All right, moving along and following suit, our Office of Instruction then met, and we decided that we were going to need a little bit of help to get to our staff and get to our teachers exactly what they would need in preparation for this year. So we were able to meet with Alice Gilchrist from the STEM Center, and in talking with her, she kind of helped us talk through a little bit about what we could offer right now. Again, I think Dr. Carey has mentioned that we are still on the list for Schoology, but we couldn't be satisfied and wait around. So here you see the numbers where they have come and offered sessions in the best practices and virtual teaching. And I think those numbers, and they speak for themselves. The one at the bottom, I know many of you have heard us talk about MAP testing over the years. This year we also switched in the midst of everything else. We decided to do some new testing, and we are using the iReady diagnostic testing program this year. And you see there where we were able to offer our first virtual training for that on August the 6th. We talked with them a little bit about what the best type of training would be to offer. They had a really long 90-minute how to give the test, how to interpret the results, and we said no. We just need to know how to give the test because our students are coming in, and so that's why we shortened that training, and we were able to provide those participants with about 45 minutes. I participated in one of the sessions myself, and it was just enough, along with the help again of those in their building and Bucky Ware and those others in the Office of Instruction, to provide them with what they needed to simply be sure that those students that were coming in for LEAP Week were able to be tested. So the program, however, and I speak very highly of it, is a perfect fit for us, and one of the reasons that we decided to go ahead and even jump so quickly into this training. The iReady is one of the few programs that once the students take the diagnostic test, then it immediately puts them into lessons based on the results of their test. So this is working beautifully already for some of our hybrid students, well, not our hybrid yet, but some of our virtual students, and hopefully we'll have the same results with our hybrid students when they're not in the building. Moving on, here are some best practices, and these particular classes are for our Newberry 1 teachers only that have been offered. And again, it's the same format there. You see the attendees and the dates that they were offered. Follow-up sessions for these.
Are these different groups?
They are, yes,
same
sir.
Group, different sessions?
Different groups.
Okay.
And follow-up sessions here will take place in September. And I'm sorry, that's still from our hybrid teachers. I apologize. But follow-up sessions there will take place in September. And then here are the sessions that are particularly designated for our Newberry 1 teachers. And they will have follow-up in September, October, November, and December to kind of help them along throughout the year.
So all the e-learning teachers and the hybrid teachers are all going to be getting follow-up?
Yes, ma'am.
The word overwhelming is the way I've heard that this professional development to be described.
It has been, I'm
Is
sure.
there any way we can pare it down to help these folks to make sure that they want to do it?
Right. Well, I think that's
Because if
what
they're overwhelmed, they're not coming.
I understand. That's what we have attempted to do in trying to make it shorter and trying to make it more specific, but definitely, we know that there are things that we can continue to do better, and we'll try to do that.
I know we're doing, and I'm hoping everybody will understand. We started this, as Dr. Carey said, about less than 6 weeks ago. We created a school, and that would normally, I would say, take 8 to 10 months, 12 months. So I'm hoping that everybody will understand that. Parents and teachers and students all understand that this is a process in uncharted territory. So.
It certainly is. And if I might just interject, I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective on things, having not been, not that long ago I was in the classroom, and then of course last year I've only been in this position for a year, so I've also been an administrator in the building not that long ago. From every level, we have needs and we have things that don't get done quick enough for us. I can recall being in my classroom, and at that point, the only thing that I was most concerned about is doing the very best that I could do for that group of students that I had at that moment. Administrators in the building feel the same way. They are protective of their teachers and their students, as they should be. Well, let me tell you, now that I'm at the district office and I work with such a great group of people in the Office of Instruction, we carry that weight for everybody and attempt to do the very best that we can, and I think that's what we've done with this situation. But again, it certainly has not been perfect, and we've done our best to let everybody know that we are in this together. But, you feel it. It doesn't matter what level. So at this point, my stress level with Schoology and iReady and all those people that can't do things fast enough for me is just, monumental by hundreds. So I know exactly what they're feeling, and we're carrying it as well, too.
Same question. Are we recording this training so that they can go back and visit it?
I don't know the answer to that.
Just like I mentioned earlier with...
Right. That's a good suggestion, though, and I'll follow up with the STEM Center to see about that. I sure will.
Is Ms. Gilchrist doing these sessions?
She has trainers that are doing them for her, yes, ma'am.
How many teachers, or if I understand correctly, we have several teachers that are doing both virtual and the e-learning?
A handful?
Okay. Are they included, like, in all the training? Because I know some of this was, like, specific to the e-learning and some of it's specific to the hybrid. I mean, are these teachers being told about all these things so that they can go to both of them? Those teachers, was that something that was a choice for them, or is that something that Okay, but like, I mean, I guess that for some of the teachers that are having to do both, I mean, was that because that we just had such a need that we made teachers do it, or were they teachers that stepped up to the plate, or?
We had a need, and then they stepped up to the plate because of that.
Okay.
Could you repeat that so the folks out there can hear, since you're at the microphone?
I will. And what'd you say, Dr. Carey? I'm sorry. I'm thinking ahead. We had a need, and they stepped up to the plate. All right, moving forward. The sessions that you see here, again, thanks to Mr. Bucky Ware, our district's technology integration specialist. When Schoology told us that they would not be available for us to start, we weren't satisfied with that, and thanks to him and some quick learning on his part and putting some things together, these are the sessions that he offered with himself as the leader. And then the remaining sessions that I'll move through were the ones that Dr. Carey mentioned our technology teacher leaders offered in their buildings. And on top of that, there was also, and again, not best case scenario by any means, but there was also a self-paced course that was offered from Schoology as well. So the remaining slides, though, you'll kind of see what was offered at each school. Mr. Ware put this list together after being in contact with his TTLs in each building. And those names that you see are the TTLs in those buildings. And I'd just like to add, again, our teacher technology leaders, you just saw all the work that they were able to do in the building along those lines while they were also leading these sessions and being available individually for sessions if needed. They kind of ended up having some tasks of their own as well, and they were asked to assist to wipe devices clean of previous programs, and they were also responsible to help with assigning and distributing devices, and again, making themselves available for those one-on-one training requests as well. So hats off to everybody. Again, we've used the expression that we are building the plane as we're flying it, but I can't imagine being part of a better group, from our teachers to our administrators to our district office staff. I'm just, in looking at these numbers and putting it on paper, which is not something that I have done yet in my position, I'm very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish, but we certainly know that we have a lot more to do.
I have a question. I'm assuming that like all of our schools have that one afternoon a week that teachers know you don't have an appointment because that's when you're going to have a faculty meeting that's reserved for a faculty meeting. Is that correct?
Our faculty meetings are normally held on Wednesdays.
Okay. All right. So we have a district-wide day. All right. Could in each school there be scheduled a Wednesday afternoon like that TTL, all the teachers know there's going to be more training Because, I mean, I know that they can individually, but like Ms. Lake said, those
Right.
TTLs are teaching, and you've got to coordinate, but this way, everybody would know this afternoon, we could have some afternoons like that, Wednesday afternoons in each building. I'm just.
Sure,
what I'm hearing, I
absolutely,
think
yeah.
that would, teachers would know, okay, training's coming here, here, and make everybody.
And I do know that some of these Wednesdays are already designated for certain things, that I mentioned before, but definitely the TTLs, we can work with them to set a time and have that advertised and be sure that they know that that time is free for just that, exactly what you're saying.
This is a combination question, kind of along with that, for you and Mr. Ross. What does a Wednesday look like for the hybrid teachers? They come in at the regular time, and how long are they in the building?
I think
8 to 1.
8 to 1, and I'm assuming that the 1 o'clock deadline is for your folks to come in and clean.
That is correct.
Is there any way we could push it and give them another hour for that kind of training?
Well, that's what the 8 to 1 is for.
Okay.
They're there to do any kind of training they want to from 8 to 1.
Unless students contact them, because they are available for student contact, correct?
Yeah, but that'll be in extreme cases. Most of the time it's professional development and then to meet with their staff.
Okay. I was thinking Wednesday was kind of a virtual day for everybody, and if they needed help, they could call in.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they can, but we don't anticipate having a whole lot of students on campus during those times.
Not on campus, but I'm talking about virtual contact.
Yes, certainly.
All right, thank you.
And the final item I have is just a reminder that our frequently asked questions document and our toolkits for staff and for parents and families, those are all on our website and able for reference as you get questions from folks. Please, we ask you very nicely to refer folks to those documents if they have any questions whatsoever. And then if they have questions that aren't answered in the document, please have them call us. Okay? Thank you.
Ms. Ross? Oh, sorry.
We need to take about a 5-minute break.
Okay.
For Mr. Ross, if you
All
don't
right.
mind. I'm just looking at the time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.